Good morning. Thank you for being with us this morning. Appreciate all those that are here in attendance in our boardroom this morning here. And we have an interesting meeting planned today, and actually a fairly short meeting compared to what we've had last few weeks at least. We have a presentation from 4-H, we have a financial report, and then some stuff we do pretty much every week that we meet. So it's a fairly straightforward meeting. But thank you for being here this morning. I just want to say we're thankful that you're here, and we'll look forward to hearing from you as well. Madam Clerk, first item, please.
Invocation to be led by Sister Dorothy LeBlanc, Sisters of St. Joseph. Please remain standing for the flag salute.
Gracious Father, I'm praying for the Sedgwick County Commissioners that you would give them wisdom in every decision. Give them discernment and common sense so as to be strong and effective leaders. Grant them patient and understanding hearts to be able to care for the needs of the community. Bless all who have business with the council today. Guide each one to aid in defending our communities from lawlessness. Give all members a true sense of service to the people. Above all, I ask for open minds, hearts, and eyes to see and hear the items presented to them. At the end of the day, may each leader experience satisfaction of a task well done and receive the thanks they deserve. May God richly bless their efforts today. All this I pray in the name of our loving God. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Sister LeBlanc, for a prayer this morning. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I call to order the regular business meeting of the Board of County Commissioners for the date of July the 20th, 2016. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Roll call. Commissioner Unruh.
Present.
Commissioner Norton.
Present.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Present.
Commissioner Ransaw.
Present.
Chairman Howell.
Present. All right, next item, please.
Public information announcements.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kate Flavin, Interim Public Information Officer. This morning we have several announcements for you, beginning with David Spears. Our county engineer has several good news stories for you.
David Spears, Director of Public Works. First, as I announced Monday, that we're collecting tree damage from the recent storm out at the West Yard from 8 to 5. The West Yard's at 4701 South West Street. And I wanted to report to you that Monday we had 176 loads of tree debris brought in, and yesterday we had 174 loads. Now, by loads, I asked that question: what's a load? Well, it can be the pickup, it could be pulling a trailer, it could be some trees in the trunk of a car. So that's what a load is, for the folks bringing that in. And the chairman has asked if this continues, and if it doesn't taper off, we're going to let it remain open next week also. But right now, the plan is just Monday through Friday this week, 8 to 5 at the West Yard, 4701 South West Street. And we're burning that with our new burn curtain. Most of the limbs are small, so we haven't had to fire up the tub grinder with any big things, and it's going well. And of course, the burn curtain puts out just a small plume of smoke, and haven't had any complaints about that. Second, for the Catholic Diocese, they're having a Catholic Heart Work Camp this week. 347 kids from around the nation are in Sedgwick County, and they're working on 40 projects, and the purpose is to reach people with the most needs, such as low income, those with disabilities, and the elderly. And we, HHW, Household Hazardous Waste, is going to supply 115 gallons of free paint to help paint 18 houses. And of course, all we have is white, gray, and beige. The other thing, 61st Street North, the road was undermined with the recent rains, and we have repaired that with 21.5 yards of flowable fill concrete. So the road is back open to traffic. There's still a lot of work to do underneath, but the public won't really be aware of that. So everything's safe, and they can now travel that road between Keachai and Park City. And I think that's all I have to announce.
Thank you, David.
If you don't mind, I think we might want to make a couple of comments about some of those things. First of all, I visited the yard a couple days ago and watched them bring in the trees, and it was a pretty amazing operation. They dig a great big hole in the ground, and people drop off their tree limbs and stuff, and then there's a machine that pushes it into the hole, and this air curtain injects air into that and creates a tremendously hot fire, and so hot that there's very little smoke that comes out of that. And it was great to see that. And if someone has a question about whether it's open, what the hours are, whether it's going to be open next week or not, is there a number that they can call?
Our main dispatcher is 660-1777.
Very good. And you said, and on the other thing, there was, and by the way, that yard again, because you said it kind of quickly, but the yard is out just south of 47th Street on West Street.
Yes, West Street and 47th Street South. The actual address is 4701 South West Street.
Very good. Thank you for the clarification. And then on the other one, there was 347 kids that are painting 18 houses this summer. Is that what you said? I think I got those numbers right.
Say the
347 kids. Is that what you said? A lot.
The loads?
On the painting of the homes.
Oh, the paint?
The number of kids.
How many kids were? It was a lot of kids.
347
Wow,
kids. From
that's what I
across
thought you
the
said.
nation.
I'm just taking this in. So again, the numbers go quickly. I wanted to make sure I heard that right. That's a lot of kids, and so I appreciate that program and we were able to get involved in that. And then of course the road being open, that's huge to this community. So thanks for the hard work there. I know that was open as quickly as possible, and I want to say thank you for your good work.
Well, that's the North Yard, Brian Cavan and his guys, and then the stream maintenance crew, Danny Evans and others, and we have some great people down there.
Very good. Well, thanks for your good comments, and always like to talk about good things that's going on, and appreciate you talking about those three this morning. Thank you.
Next, we have our election commissioner talking about the primary election.
Good morning, Commissioners. I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention that we have begun early voting in person in our office this morning. We are not seeing a tremendous response. When I left to come over here, we had 7 people vote so far. 3 of those were our staff in our own office. So one of my staff wanted me to point out to you that if you come vote, you get one of these stickers. It is not only stylish, but it is patriotic as well. So you should come on over and vote. But we did want to bring that up, that we will be open in our office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and then the Monday before the election on August 1st, 8 to noon. And then we do have 15 additional sites that will open starting the 28th of July, and they will be open. We have the flyer on our website with all those hours. And of course, if anybody has any questions, they can call our office and ask that at 660-7100. But we would encourage you to make sure that you know who you're voting for when you go. The election workers cannot and will not answer any questions about any candidates or anything on the ballot. And then make sure you bring your government-issued photo ID. But other than that, I would also just give just a recap, since I know we have some activities going on outside this building, that no electioneering can be done within 250-foot radius of our doors because we are a polling location. Currently, what that means is any candidates or issues on the ballot in this election. So no one can be endorsing or opposing a candidate or an issue on the ballot in this election within 250 foot of our doors. So other than that, if anyone has any questions.
Well, thank you for that. I just wanted to say on the Sedgwick County app, again, I downloaded that to my smartphone, and there's a place on there you can click that, and it can show you all the polling sites. And the
Yes.
red dots are the advanced sites, and those open on what date did you say?
The 15 additional sites will open on the 28th. They'll be open the 28th, the 29th,
July
and the 30th.
28th.
Yes,
and then,
correct.
but between now and then, they can vote right now at the election office.
That's correct.
Until then, okay.
And I would mention that for the early voting locations, anyone can vote as long as they're registered to vote in Sedgwick County can vote at any of those sites. But then on Election Day, you do need to go to your designated polling location.
Okay. That's a great point to make. Commissioner Ransla has other comments.
Yeah, just a question. That 200-foot limit, where is that?
We have a map, and I was getting ready to send it out to everybody. So if you'd like, I will include all of you on that map, and we can even ask communications to post that on our website, so it's readily available.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you very
Sure.
much. Oh, Commissioner Peterson has other questions.
Yeah. How are you doing for election staff?
You know, we're doing well. We do have people who continue to cancel. I think we lost 3 supervising judges over the weekend, so we are seeking to replace those. Those are the people in charge of the actual polling location. So that's adding a little bit of stress. So we are seeking to fill those positions, but we are still, the primary we're looking fairly well except for those couple of positions. The general, obviously, we're still actively recruiting for.
Okay, so if a person was interested in helping, what should they do?
They can go to our website and apply. There's an application online, or they can call 660-7119. They should be a little bit patient with our person in charge of this because she is currently training election workers, so she can only return calls between training classes. So,
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you. I don't see any other comments or questions on the board, so thank you for the information.
And one final comment from me, Commissioners. Our 2017 recommended budget was presented last week, so our online budget hearing is open for comments, and you can also review the 2017 recommended budget on our website as well. Or people can participate in the public hearings that we will have here in this room on July 27th or August 4th. That's all I have today.
And the August the 4th is a Thursday evening?
It was a Thursday
it's
evening.
Evening meeting. It
Correct.
starts at, what, do you know what time that starts at?
6 p.m.
6 p.m., okay. So we have 2 budget hearings, and then we plan to hopefully adopt the budget on August the 10th.
Correct.
The Wednesday after that, okay. Thank you for that information. All right. Seeing nothing else on public information, Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Public agenda.
Is there anybody signed up to speak to the commission this morning, generally? Okay, and don't see anybody signed up. We do have a few people signed up, I guess. And again, just as a reminder, when we get to agenda items, we do allow people to speak on those agenda items, and it lists that in the actual agenda. Public comment is optional later on, so this is okay. Kate Donahue, are you here right now?
That's for 4.
Okay.
She'll be part of the 4-H.
Very good. Okay, we'll get to that in just a little bit. Thank you for that. We do have a 4-H briefing, and we'll let Kate talk at that time, if that's okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Seeing no one else for public agenda, Madam Clerk, next item, please.
New business, item A, authorize the publication of the maximum property tax levy to fund the 2017 Sedgwick County budget and establish public budget hearings on July 27th and August 4th, 2016.
All right. Good morning, Commissioners. Lindsay Poverso, your Budget Director. Before you this morning is a request for your authorization to publish notice of a public budget hearing, which will also establish the maximum budget and the maximum property tax levy for the 2017 Sedgwick County budget. State law does require that the county hold at least 1 public hearing each year. We do typically hold at least 2. The state laws further require that we advertise notice of one of those hearings at least 10 days in advance with a specified publication, which is included in your backup materials for this item. The notice must include a summary of the proposed budget that includes the maximum proposed spending for a given year and the maximum property tax levy proposed to fund the budget at a fund level. This date is often referred to as the last up day, since the total budget for property tax supported funds and the maximum property tax levy can't be increased after this date without republishing the required notice and holding an additional public hearing on that revised number. For 2017, the maximum proposed budget for Sedgwick County is $406,091,994 to be funded with a maximum proposed tax levy of $133,201,437. In accordance with the resolution you approved earlier this year, the proposed levy is based on an estimated mill levy rate of 29.359 mills. In addition to a public hearing to be held on Wednesday, July 27th at 9 a.m., this publication will outline that the final public budget hearing will be held here in this room on Thursday, August 4th at 6 p.m., and budget adoption is scheduled for August 10th. I'll be happy to stand for any questions. If there are none, I would recommend you authorize the publication.
All right. Well, thank you for the information. And Commissioners, is there any comments or questions? All right. We will ask for public comment on this agenda item. Is anybody from the audience would like to speak on the agenda item before us right now? All right. Seeing none. Commissioners, what's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move we take the recommended action.
Second.
And as clarification, there are two motions here. Can we do that with one Oh, are you making a motion for both or just for one, or can we do both at once?
This will just be the Sedgwick County.
Okay, we'll do the fire district later. I'm with
Yes.
you, okay. We do have a fire district meeting at the end of what we're doing right now, so we'll get to the fire district one in a little bit. So we have a motion to take the recommended action. Is there a second?
I second.
You second it
Mr.
all.
Chairman, I recommend the motion maker read into the minutes the whole motion.
Okay.
You okay?
Yeah, I'll move we authorize the publication of a notice of public hearing regarding the Sedgwick County 2017 budget. The publication shall include a total budget of $406,091,999 and an ad valorem tax levy of $133,201,437, which is approximately equivalent to 29.359 mils based on the estimated assessed valuation and subject to technical adjustment. I don't think I misstated any of those numbers.
Actually, you did.
I think you did.
The first number, the $406,091,994 is the correct number. I think he said 999. So 994 is the correct.
994. I stand correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? We have a motion and a second. See no other discussion. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh,
Aye.
Commissioner Norton,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn,
Aye.
Commissioner Ransall,
Aye.
Chairman Howell.
Aye. All right, thank you. Next item, please.
Item B, County Extension Quarterly Report.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jody Bestorn, Sedgwick County 4-H agent. Thank you for the opportunity to come here today and give the quarterly report for the Sedgwick County Extension Service. Usually you just get me talking, but today we wanted to change it up a little bit, and I've invited some of our 4-H members to come and speak to you and share their perspective of what they learn and do through the 4-H program. Certainly our roots are bounded in the agricultural heritage of animal science, foods and nutrition, and plant science, but we evolve and change with the times, and we've been increasing our activity in the STEM-related projects of science, technology, engineering, and math, and those related projects are, of course, high interest to our young people today. So we're looking into new areas to continue to evolve the 4-H program. New this year was a wind energy project. We recruited a volunteer to provide this 8-week experience for the young people to learn about wind energy, and as a result of that, we have today one of our 4-H members, Evan Snell. He's 10 years old from the Achievers 4-H Club in East Wichita, and he's going to share a little bit about what he's learned and done through the 4-H Wind Energy Project. So I'll invite Evan to this podium.
Good morning. I am Evan Snell from the Achievers 4-H Club. I am 10 years old. This is my 4th year in 4-H and my 1st year in the Wind Energy Project. Our county has an amazing 4-H wind energy project that has taught me a lot about wind energy. I visited a wind turbine on a field trip and also climbed into a training nacelle and saw how the turbines work. I learned all about the safety requirements and equipment to work on the wind turbines. I got to try on one of the harnesses. I was inspired to build my own wind turbine. My goal was to build an inexpensive turbine that would produce enough power to charge a 12-volt battery. We considered several different electric motors as generators. I learned how to calculate whether a particular motor had the potential to produce enough power based on its rated voltage. I learned how to after trying several smaller motors and a larger one from a battery-powered sump pump, we settled on a motor from a change machine we found on eBay for $8. We added a voltage converter and electrical equipment needed to charge a 12-volt battery. We built blades from PVC since it's readily available and relatively inexpensive and could be shaped into an airfoil by using the built-in curve of the PVC pipe. We started with a 22-inch long blades cut from green PVC, which worked but required a moderately strong wind to turn the turbine. We upgraded the design to 33-inch blades cut from 6-inch PVC, which were able to turn the turbine at much lower wind speeds, 4.5 to 5 miles an hour. I learned a lot about generating and converting electrical power this year, and about trade-offs with different turbine blade designs. We were able to build a generator that could charge a 12-volt battery or light a small light. I entered my wind turbine in the county fair and was awarded a purple ribbon. Now I get to take my ribbon to the state fair. Finally, I'd like to thank you for supporting 4-H and supporting all the awesome opportunities that I have. Are there any questions?
Well, there's got to be some questions. I have a few comments. Well, my whole board just lit right up. You better be here for some answers for a little while. Commissioner Unruh?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, Evan, thank you for a very good report. And I want to compliment you on your presentation. It's very clear, and you did a great job. You have a lot of self-confidence for a young man, but I suppose that comes from the training you receive in 4-H. But you did a very good job. I'm impressed by your technical knowledge. I just learned how to say PCV the other day, so you're way ahead of me. But good job, and good luck to you.
You said it wrong.
Did I say it wrong?
You said it wrong.
And I didn't do it on purpose either. But anyway, good luck to you at the state fair.
Thank you very much.
All right, other comments? Commissioner Peter John.
Yes, Evan, thank you for the wonderful presentation. You showed an awful lot of poise for a young man, and it's very impressive. I was curious, when you went out and took a look at a wind turbine, where did you go to see them?
That was at a water treatment plant, and they had a wind turbine, though it wasn't working at the time. It was one of the two-blade designs.
Oh, really? Was it in Sedgwick County or somewhere else?
I think it was in Sedgwick County.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, well, Mr. Snell, you said you're 10 years old, is that correct? Are you sure? You seem to be very mature for 10 years old. When I was 10, I wasn't doing anything like what you're doing, so I'm very impressed. I was curious, what do you plan on doing when you get to be into a career? What's your plan forward?
I don't know. I really like engineering, though.
Yeah, it sounds like you're an engineering kind of guy, and David Spears thinks that's a good idea. See the thumbs up over here? He's got the thumbs up. So yeah, well, you're a very impressive young man, and I'm a little bit jealous. You've got some experiences that most 10-year-olds can just dream about, and you're a fantastic young man. You're very articulate. You did a great job presenting this morning. You obviously know your stuff. And whoever's helping you is doing a good job. I mean, the whole project is just fantastic. The idea of generating electricity using parts for $8 and using pipe is just an incredible project. I'm very, very impressed. And energy is one of our nation's biggest issues to think about the future. So again, I think you're in a interesting topic, and you learned a great deal. So thank you for all you've done this morning. Other comments from Commissioner Norton?
Well, I'd like to say that I was impressed, but I look at today's youth, and they're smarter and more technologically advanced than many of us that went to school. But you did a great presentation. I think it's very profound that you picked an alternative energy source to start looking at, because your generation is going to drive that conversation in our future. So thank you for working on wind energy, because one thing we've got in Kansas is plenty of wind. And if you can do it with, what is it, PCV, Dave?
It's one of those.
If you can build it lighter and better and faster through engineering, we're all for it. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much.
All right, I think we're ready for the next part of this presentation.
Yes. So 4-H does not only the hands-on learning that you've just learned about, but we also help young people develop skills in teamwork, communication, and leadership. And to share her perspective is an older 4-H member, Kate Donahue. Is a 9-year member of a West Side Wichita 4-H club. Kate?
Thank you, Jody. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kate Donahue. I have been involved in 4-H since the age of 7. I'm currently a senior at May South High School, so that's about 10 years because I'm 17. Over the course of my 4-H career, I have been president of my club, on the leadership team for Teen Council, and I'm currently an ambassador for Sedgwick County. I think that's enough facts about me. 4-H to me is more than cows, county fair, and cookies. Stereotypically, everybody thinks that 4-H is only for kids who show animals. However, that isn't the case. 4-H is for anyone who thinks to themselves that they want to change the world for the better. 4-H is about working towards the goal of a better future, and after all, the pledge itself tells us that every time we start a meeting. The pledge goes, I pledge my head to greater thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living. For my club, my community, my country, and my world. 4-H also stretches on just beyond the county. Thanks to 4-H, I've met people statewide, some even from other states, who I now consider to be my friends because of 4-H. 4-H leads to lifelong friendships because of the bond it creates. No matter where someone comes from and what their opinions are, I know that we have the same core values because we were both involved at 4-H. 4-H also teaches leadership skills, thanks to its focus on having the kids make decisions for the club in the meetings and encouraging public speaking skills. I used to have a terrible fear of public speaking. However, thanks to 4-H, I have the skills now to be able to talk in front of crowds and to those who have the ability to make a change for the better. So even though I encourage everybody to go to both the county and state fair to look at the 4-H buildings, I also tell them how 4-H betters the community by teaching 4-Hers they have the ability to change this world for the better, starting with the club, their community, their country, and then eventually the world. Thank you for your time. Is there any questions or comments?
All right, well, thank you, Kate Donahue, for the information. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, Commissioner Unruh.
Well, thank you. Well, once again, I just want to express appreciation for you being here and continuing to remind us how important an organization 4-H is and how it's impacted your life and helped make you a better speaker and a whole lot of other attributes that we can just see in your presentation. But thanks for being here, and you did a very good job.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Peterjohn.
Kate, thank you for coming out. Great comments, especially I think I've heard several folks who've said, man, they had a very tough time talking in public, but they've been able to overcome it, and you did a great job this morning. But I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, since you said you're from May South High School.
Yeah.
The county played a little role in helping you get your mascot out there. How's that
Yeah.
bull doing out there?
It's doing pretty good. Had a little bit of issues with Goddard High, but it's okay. It made it through it.
Oh, with Goddard, oh my. Okay.
Do we need to send the sheriff out there?
He took care of it.
All
It's
right.
fine.
Sounds like a story you'd like to hear later on. All right, Commissioner Ranzau.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you and congratulations, both Evan and Kate. You did a great job. I want to say thank you to the Extension Office for everything they do in the 4-H area. It's a great program for our community. And I'll make the motion that we receive and file all of these great comments.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there other comments? Commissioner Norton?
We can go ahead and vote, and then I'll comment real quick.
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay, let's go ahead and get the vote over with. Let me ask before I do that. Jody, is there other parts of the presentation? Okay. Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye. Before we go to the next item, Commissioner Norton.
What's next for you, Kate? Where are you going to spread the message next?
Well, I'm currently a delegate for the National 4-H Congress in Atlanta, so I get to go there and learn what other people do for their counties. And my goal in life is to go to college and hopefully start bettering the world through my help and what I've learned through 4-H.
You know where you're going to go to college and what you're going to study?
It's between KU and K-State, which, you know, they're
Well, you're
Yep.
splitting the commission right now. You just lost somebody in the commission.
Yeah, I'm looking into majoring in theater design with an emphasis in stage management, which is kind of saying I'm really good at leading people and being in charge. And then 2 minors, minoring in Spanish, and then minoring in business management. And with that degree, I am able to lead festivals, public events, and I would like to start working for the city or even a state later on, but it just depends.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you
for being here today.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Norton. And I just wanted to say, I have gone to the 4-H annual dinner that they have every year at the Extension office, and it's been a great experience to see. Really, I don't know how many kids are there. I'm going to say 100 kids or more that have things to present, and they're doing things actively in this community. They're investing themselves in this community and learning a tremendous skill set in public service, and all kinds of good things they're doing. It's just great to see what they're involved in, and I think I've seen you there, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you have seen you there. And you said you were an ambassador for the county. Can you please talk about that a little bit?
So since I'm an ambassador for the county, I had to interview, and then I got picked, and now I have a cool t-shirt. With being an ambassador, that means that I get to go to a lot more statewide events, and I get to show off what Sedgwick County has to offer. And in July, the ambassadors are planning a thing for 4-H where it's like fun night at the zoo, and kids get to come, and we get to kind of be like camp counselors. So we get to spend the night at the zoo, and then we talk more about 4-H. And then I go to some of the farmers markets, and I promote 4-H there as well. And then we also had a statewide camp, I believe, for ambassadors, so we could exchange ideas on how to promote 4-H in our community.
Well, thank you for the explanation, and I'm glad you're an ambassador for the county. I'm an unofficial ambassador. I do my best, but I think you're doing a better job than I. Anyway, thank you. You've done a great job as well. I agree with my colleagues. You're an excellent speaker, and you've done a tremendous job this morning. So thank you for your comments. We've already voted, so I think we're ready for the next item. Madam Clerk.
Item C, presentation of the quarterly financial report.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rick Durham, your Deputy Chief Financial Officer. And I must say that that's going to be a tough act to follow.
I was just thinking the same thing. It's already kind of boring already.
I know. So thank you so much.
They were a lot of fun. In fact, as they get ready to, I don't know if they're going to stay or not, but also, again, say thank you for coming today. It's been a pleasure to meet all the folks that presented this morning. And so now on to the more serious things, and thank you for being here, Mr. Durham.
At the end of each quarter, as you know, the Division of Finance reports on Sedgwick County's financial condition. The following quarterly financial report provides an analysis as of the end of the second quarter, FY16. The information contained in this report is based on unaudited financial statements and excludes adjustments that may be required by the county's auditors at a later date. You are, however, receiving this quarterly report earlier than normal because of August's meeting schedule. So we chose to provide this update prior to you receiving the book for timeliness of the information. You will receive this document at the normal time at the end of this month, and it will be placed on the county's website. So this morning I want to provide you some highlights of that report that you'll receive. And again, the report is, as always, prepared by the budget staff, led by Lindsay Powerso and her staff, which Lorian Showalter Airy, Carly Sanchez, and Brandon Mills. And also the accounting department, directed by Sarah Jantz and her staff, but Sarah's, she's here alone today. I think her staff is off doing other things. So we begin with a slide that shows what we project year-end revenues, expenditures, and fund balances to be in the governmental funds categorized by group, as you see here. So starting on the left with the general fund. This is the county's primary operating fund and accounts for county services that do not have a designated fund of their own. The general fund includes most general government and law enforcement functions, and currently the operation of 42 departments are funded from the general fund. So expenditures, as you see here, are expected or estimated to exceed revenues by $3.6 million at year end, and that is in a large part because of one-time capital improvement projects, including the Law Enforcement Training Center, the TAG office, and cash-funded road and bridge projects. Moving to the right, the debt service fund, revenues from debt service funds are estimated to be almost $250,000 greater than expenditures. Special revenue funds, those property tax supported funds. The county has 7 other property tax supported funds. Those are bond and interest, EMS, ComCare, aging, highway, noxious weeds, and Wichita State. Each of those funds provides services related to a specific function, and the property taxes levied in each fund are used only to support those specific functions. So these funds are expected to have a net increase of $1 million this year and have a year-end fund balance of $8.7 million. Other county non-tax funds. The county has 31 budgeted other operating funds that are not supported directly with property taxes. These funds are estimated to decrease by $3.6 million in combined fund balance. And then the next to the last column, the fire district fund. This balance is estimated to decrease by $200,000 by the end of the year. And then the far column on the right totals those numbers so you can see the net effect. So we move now to those county property tax supported funds. So revenue collections for county property tax supported funds increased during this period as compared to the same period last year by $600,000, or excuse me, by 0.6% or $1.1 million. Moving now to expenditures. Expenditures in the county property tax supported funds increased $3.9 million or 3.2% versus the same time period in 2015. Increases are recorded in transfers out of $7 million and commodities of $200,000. The increases were offset in decreases in contractual services and debt service. So here we show a year-over-year percentage change, and the overall percentage change is revenues are up 0.6%, as I mentioned on the previous slide, and expenditures have increased 3.4%. Another representation of that same data is a net income of the tax-supported funds, and at the end of the second quarter, the net income of $52.5 million, and the difference from last fiscal year is a decrease of $2.8 million. So as we drill down, we look at the top 10 revenues of the county property tax supported funds. So current property tax collections have increased $1.5 million compared to the first 6 months of 2015. Retail sales and use tax increased $200,000, well, $170,000. I've done some rounding on my paper here, compared to the same period in 2015. And to note, collections in 4 of the 6 months have exceeded collections of the same months in 2015. Motor vehicle taxes decreased $150,000 or 2.5%. Mortgage registration fees have decreased versus the same time frame in 2015. And again, we have talked about this in the past, but revenue growth in this area will be increasingly difficult to predict as the mortgage registration fees phase out by 2019 while increasing the per page recording fees. As note, officer fees increased about $500,000 during that same time period. So the total at the end of the quarter, as shown on the previous slide, for revenues was $171.1 million. As we know, that personnel is our largest expenditure. So here are key personnel expenditures in the county property tax supported funds. So the two of note that I will highlight is the decrease in pension contributions. This is due to changes in the rate of CAPERS and KPF from the state. And then this is obviously offset by an increase in overtime of about 16.2%. And the relatively large decrease you see at the very bottom there, the 23.5% in all other, is in part largely due to reduction in work comp expenditures. Key non-personnel expenditures. So we start at the top. Grant payments, or grant awards, pardon me, include payments to Exploration Place, WATC, Wichita State, the Extension Council payments, and MAPDs. And you see there's the dollar change there of $5.3 million, a decrease in that. That's due to the one-time payment to the zoo. That's still affecting us this year. The 11% reduction on interest on debt is due to not issuing new debt and refunding and paying off of old debt. The reductions in fleet charges are attributable to reduction in fuel cost. The increase you see in medical professional services is in large part a function of inmate medical expenses. And the large percentage increase in software and hardware maintenance is attributable to MABCD expenses. We move now to the non-tax special revenue funds. As I stated in the beginning of the presentation, the county has 31 budgeted operating funds which are not supported directly with tax funds. These include grants, the enterprise fund, and internal service funds. So in these non-tax special revenue funds for the second quarter, revenues are at $40.9 million, or an increase of $1.4 million from the same period in 2015. Net expenditures in that same fund at the end of the second quarter are at $37.3 million, or a 19% decrease, or $4.1 million from the year earlier. That should be a 10% decrease, not 19%, as I stated. It's represented here by this. So you can see the 3.7% increase in revenue and the decrease in expenditures. Here are the top 10 revenues for the non-tax special revenue funds. You can see the large decrease in Medicaid fees. That was actually discussed last quarter because there was a large decrease in that. And a lot of that is has to do with changes in what is reimbursable that took effect on January 1st. And it has to do with the way state revenue is taken into account. The decrease in federal revenue, the 11.1%, is largely due to the HUD Regional Area Economic Partnership Sustainable Communities. The county is no longer the fiscal agent for that. Let me try to restate that a little clearer. Sedgwick County is no longer the fiscal agent for the HUD Regional Economic Area Partnership Sustainable Communities Regional Planning Grant. So that represents, that's the decrease that you see there in the federal revenue.
And I think that's because that expired.
That is correct. Yes. The state revenue, the juvenile justice, that reduction is primarily due to decreased population. And the reduction you see in the solid waste is due to reduced rates. Key expenditures here. As you can see, all the expenditures, again, represented by the 10% decrease that I showed on the previous slide, all of our expenditures have decreased in these non-tax special revenue funds. So I'm going to move back to the general fund, just the general fund. And what this slide depicts is the total fund balance of the general fund on a quarterly comparison basis. So the second quarter is identified by the red here. So if you follow the red on the 5-year trend from 11 to 15 and then the current fiscal year, you can see that it falls in a very narrow range. You can also look back and see that it follows a very clear pattern of spending as we collect taxes and then spend those down at the end of the fiscal year. So you can see the clear trend there. This also is the general fund. As you can see, it follows clearly the same pattern. The county has a policy that it will maintain unrestricted fund balance as a percentage of budgeted expenditures of at least 20%. Once again, the second quarter identified and by the red data there, that you can see it follows or it falls in a very narrow range, and it's a clear pattern as going back. Moving now to the investment portfolio. So you can see our yield is identified by the blue diamonds, the benchmark identified by the green triangles. So you can see that right now we are our yield is outperforming the benchmark, which is the one-year Treasury. Yeah, I did. I jumped over one. Sorry. Here I move to some significant capital projects that are underway. We'll start with the Law Enforcement Training Center. Currently, the developer is working through the architect and has been conducting meetings with all the stakeholders with a goal of producing an acceptable 30% complete design by mid-August. The second item, construct the new EMS Southeast post. Those design plans have been completed and will go for review this week. The third item there, the interchange at 235. The first phase is under construction with 10 work areas in progress. The aviation pathway construction on the first phase will be completed in August. And then the redeck over the MacArthur over the Big River, the westbound bridge completed in June, and the project will be complete in September. What we have here is a slide that depicts leading economic indicators as shown on the Center for Economic Development and Business Research from Wichita State. And as you can see, going back over the past several years, you see the uptick from 2003 to 2007. You can see the economic downturn. So what I've done is I've taken and that area there that has circled the past 20 months in an effort to maybe zero in on that to show how flat the growth has been. I've just zeroed in on that. So from December of 13 through the current quarter, growth has been extremely flat or very slow in our leading economic indicators.
I have a question.
Let's go ahead and take a question from Commissioner Planzaw.
So we've been following this, and we've been concerned because it's been flat now. Our property tax revenue, projected revenues are gone up more than what we anticipated for next year. Is and maybe you don't know the answer to this. I mean, is that an aberration? Is that a sign? I mean, these things go up and down. Do you have any insight from WSU on that, or is that just one thing that we take it, enjoy it, but we're still kind of need to be cautious because, I mean, things are just gradually getting better. Is that right? Or do we expect any sudden uptick?
I don't have any data to truly answer your question. What I would say is caution is advised.
Yeah.
But every economic indicator that you look at and everything that you read from the CEDBR's website indicates slower growth in the Wichita area than the state and the national. So to tie the two together with increased property taxes to this, I don't know that we should do that.
I have lots of people have opinions, but there are people talking that they're expecting some sort of recession perhaps in the next 12 to 18 months. I don't know. I guess I'd like us to check with the guys out of WSU to see what their thoughts on that are, if there's any validity to that concern, or, just about any time you have somebody predicting one thing and another one predicting another, but I kind of like to have their general opinion on maybe more, further out. So
I will get in contact with Jeremy.
I mean, I don't need to do
State.
a whole lot of intensive research or anything like that, but just kind of get some insight on that.
Yep.
Please continue.
All right. So sticking with the economy, we look at some long-term trends. And again, this is the same data that was presented to you last quarter. So as we see in going along, our tax-based growth is up 1.5%. Home sales have increased. Mortgages registered increased. Sales and use tax, as notified, as we show on the other top 10 revenues, is up. And our unemployment rate, the arrow shows up, but that's an uptrend, not increased unemployment. So a short-term trend, home sales are up as we compare. Well, let me be clear on what we're comparing here. We're comparing the second quarter of 16 to the second quarter of 15. So our home sales are up. New home permits down. Mortgages registered is up. And those percentages is a change over that. So don't be confused by looking at 15.4% increase in, for example, mortgages registered in the second quarter of 15 to the 2.2% in the second quarter of 16. That's a 2.2% increase over that. And you can see the remainder of those categories, some up, some down. So going forward, as I'm going to start summing this up, so we see potential threats. Federal regulation, obviously, the impact of the Fair Labor Standards Act, the FLSA, that you have been briefed on in the past. The suspension of the Department of Justice Federal Asset Forfeiture Program. State programs looking to fill local funds or looking to local funds to fill the gap. And the example of that is the increased cost due to inmates in the adult detention facility on a waiting list for admission to the state hospital. The state budget poses a threat to us. The example of Medicaid cuts, approximately $4 million in reduced or lost revenue that impact 5 programs. Juvenile justice reform, the potential skip closure. And again, the local economy, the slower rate of recovery locally than nationally. So key points to take away. Sedgwick County is in sound financial condition. We do, however, have a projected deficit in 2016 of approximately $3.6 million. However, we did cash fund about $9 million of capital projects. We have an increased reliance on taxes to fund our government. The loss of the mortgage registration fee revenue and the Medicaid cuts impact us. So while revenue grows modestly, or in some cases is decreasing, our cost of doing business continues to increase. So we have the 271 building as an increased operating cost. And from the statistics in the back of the CAFR that you received earlier this year, we also have increase in the average number of monthly 911 calls and an increase in the average monthly EMS responses. That also are a cost of doing business that continues to increase. So through the second quarter, our financial performance is consistent with what we expected to see. We do have deficits projected in 2016. And again, to reiterate, our 10-year focus has been increased efforts in public safety and public works, those Tier 1 activities, and decreased efforts in health, human services, and general government, those Tier 2 and 3 functions. And with that, I would stand for any questions that you may have.
All right, well, Mr. Durham, great presentation, and I'm sure there's going to be some questions. Before we get to questions, is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak about the presentation or anything else regarding this agenda item? All right, seeing none, bring it back to the bench. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Peterjohn.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we could jump back to slide 9, I want to just kind of walk through with the grant awards, if we could, Rick. Yep, there we go. Ask a question because it shows a rather dramatic reduction of about a third from almost 14.5 million down to a little over 9 million between 2015 and 2016 in the grant awards. My recollection is that the zoo barn and exhibit was a $5.3 million expenditure, and if I subtract, would it be fair to subtract 5.3 million to kind of, if we exclude that as a one-time expenditure item, we'd be looking at basically the grant awards almost being flat. My math has it as 9.18 compared to 9.15. Am I fair in doing it that way in terms of the math, or have I missed something?
No, that would be fair. Okay,
because basically that one-time expenditure created that rather significant change, but we went ahead and did that. If we can switch to slide 17, please. I know this is a very busy chart and it's kind of hard to go through, but by my quick calculation here, it looks like the benchmark that we're looking at is a little over 40 basis points for the investment side, and we actually got right around 80, or maybe just a shade over 80 basis points on it, which meant we almost doubled it.
That is correct.
Which is deserving of a very significant atta-girl for the folks in finance who managed to arrange that. And I know I've got my green eye shades out and in the weeds, but I would be remiss if I didn't point that out and call a little bit of public attention to it, because that basically doubled what we'd have if we were operating at the benchmark. And I know it's going to fluctuate and it's always going to be a moving target, and looking at the numbers it goes up and down, but most of the time you look at that solid line as opposed to the dotted line. The solid line's well above the dotted one. So wanted to just point that out to my colleagues and to the public.
And to call that person by name, that would be Brandy Bailey. She manages our investment portfolio. I know she's not present here today, but we'll go ahead and identify where the good job is coming from.
Well, I wanted to get that on the record too.
Appreciate that,
Mr. Chairman.
Real quickly, on slide 17, since you're there, can you explain why that's a kind of a cyclic looking chart? Why does it have that pattern? Is there some reason?
The brown bars represent the cash flow and the way the cash is handled. Not dissimilar to the slide that shows, the gap, that. So it's income coming in a cycle and then spent down.
So in the investment portfolio, is it safe to say there's more dollars invested, perhaps, and that's why there's higher yield? Okay. All right. Commissioners, other questions or comments? Commissioner Peterjohn?
Well, if there are no other comments or questions, I'll make a motion we receive and file.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. I would say I'd have a lot of questions, except for this is very similar to the previous reports we've seen. So most of my questions are, I'm learning about how this works, and I have less questions about it. I think I understand more of what I'm seeing here this morning. So.
And as you get the report in a week and a half? Next Friday. Some of your questions may be answered in having the physical report.
That'd be great. All right, we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Ranzau?
Yeah, I have a question actually about the budget and the resolution that we passed earlier. I just want to clarify, because we said a total budget of $406 million and change. And in the book that you know, the recommended budget that we'd already got seems to indicate 424 million. Is that?
That's because the fire district is included in your
Got
total
it.
of 424 million, and we'll take that up as a separate item, which will be about 18 million.
18 million there, that adds it up. Okay, thank you.
All right. Seeing no other questions or comments, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn,
Aye.
Commissioner Norton,
Aye.
Commissioner Ransall,
Aye.
Chairman Howell.
Aye. All right, next item, please.
Item D, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts, regular meeting on July 14th, 2016.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Joe Thomas, Purchasing Director. The meeting that was conducted on July 14th of the Board of Bids and Contracts results in one item that we present to you this morning. And this item is the bridge improvement for Project B477, which is a bridge replacement on Clifton between 55th and 63rd Street South. This recommendation is to accept the low bid from Meese Construction Incorporated in the amount of $383,321.10. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, and I recommend approval of this item.
All right, any questions or comments? I am supposed to ask the audience, does anybody in the audience want to speak to the agenda item? All right, seeing none. Well, I would make a motion we would approve the recommendations of the Board of Bids and Contracts.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. See no discussion. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh,
Aye.
Commissioner Norton,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn,
Aye.
Commissioner Ransall,
Aye.
Chairman Howell.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. All right, next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Commissioners, Mike Scholes, County Manager, recommend you approve consent agenda items Echo through Lima.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Peterjohn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to point out the fact that the one of the items on here on the consent agenda, item E, is an amendment for the work that's being done at the interchange at I-235 and US 54. And there's been some talk about this, and since the county is providing 100% of the local funding for this state and federal project, I think it was important that at least get mentioned as part of our discussion here and running it through on the consent side. I'm in support. There's also an item F that's part of this too, but I think it's important with this agreement that the recognition that Sedgwick County is providing 100% of the local contribution get on the record again. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Peterjohn. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. And Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh,
Aye.
Commissioner Norton,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn,
Aye.
Commissioner Ransall,
Aye.
Chairman Howell.
Aye. All right. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Legislative issues.
Mr. Von Atchen, anything for legislative issues this morning? Don't have anything. Okay. Commissioners, anything you want to raise for legislative issues this morning? All right. Seeing none, I'm not going to raise any issues either, so Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Other.
Commissioners, any comments for other this morning? I would raise one issue. I want to just state, the public may or may not have an awareness that Sedgwick County has been meeting with the City of Wichita on a regular basis, and I think that's great that we do that. In terms of the leadership of the county and the leadership of the city getting together, and this last week we did meet with the mayor and the vice mayor, and I appreciate that very much. I think we're doing what we can to create peace with the City of Wichita. One item that was raised during our meeting this last week was clarifications over some comments that came out in a news article, and they wanted me to stress and clarify that they actually do provide some funding to some things that were mentioned in the news article. I'd like to go ahead and state, for clarity purposes this morning, some of those points that they raised. One of those is the Child Advocacy Center. The county did provide $1 million in capital investment to that project, and of course it's in the process of actually coming live right now. It's a tremendous facility here in Wichita. It provides a place for the Exploited Missing Children's Unit, the Internet Crimes Against Children, human trafficking investigations are happening there as well, and there's a lot of things that are really important to this community that the Sedgwick County did invest $1 million. But For clarity, the city also did invest $300,000 back in I think ending in 2010. A couple of years they put some money forward, a total of about $300,000. But they also do provide in their budget every year $85,000. But I guess just in contrast, I think the county, if I understand correctly, puts out I think $205,000 every year for operational expenses. Both the city and the county do have staff there as well. So there's different types of support that we provide. The second thing they wanted to raise was with respect to the exploration place. One of the things that the city did was they provided land for the project, and it was on a long-term lease. And of course that land is very exclusive because of where it is on the river. And so to allow that land to be utilized for the exploration place was a commitment from the city, and that allowed the exploration place to be built on that location. So that was something they did. There's 20 acres of land, prime real estate, but they also realigned McLean Boulevard. That's something that they paid for that. They also, out of their annual mill levy for the cultural arts, they do provide about $50,000 per year, and they, over a period of 4 years from 2012 through 2016, they have provided a total of $252,000. And I guess, in fairness, I do want to just highlight again the county does provide the principal and interest on that facility, plus operating expenses. The total of all the principal and interest on the facility plus the operating expenses is about $3.3 million per year since the county's been involved in the program. So. I do appreciate what the city is providing, and for clarity, we want to make sure that people understand that they are also invested in some of these projects. Commissioner Ranza, other comments?
Yeah, I'll just piggyback on that. Since I was the one that was quoted in there, I spoke to the reporter on this issue when he came over. That was probably my first mistake. He told me the comments of the mayor. And then I proceeded to tell him, hey, well, there's some projects that we put more into than they do, and vice versa. I told him twice. I'm not complaining about it. I'm not trying to pick a fight. I'm just answering your question. And so, unfortunately, it's clear that it's political season, and some reporters and newspapers have an agenda they want to push, and so they have to push the idea that we're complaining and fighting back and forth. I was just making a statement of fact, answering the questions. Perhaps next time I shouldn't even answer the questions, because when you tell them twice, I'm not trying to pick a fight. I'm just giving you some examples in which we spend more money than they do. I included NCAT out there because we spend over $3 million, et cetera, but they do over time. For example, the Lake Afton Observatory. One time, the city, the school district, and we were involved in WSU, and over time, those other entities have dropped off. That's fine. We just kind of go in different directions. It doesn't mean we're fighting about it. We're just doing it. So they do their things, and we do their things, and we partnership on things, and sometimes we split it 50-50, and sometimes we pay more, and sometimes they pay more. That's okay. That's just how it is. But to go back and rehash things that happened 8 to 10 years ago that have nothing to do with its current majority, I don't think is particularly helpful. But like I say, it is election time, and there's the agenda to be pushed by the Wichita Eagle. That's very clear. And the local progressive establishment that likes, to tax and spend and create the appearance of problems going on when there really isn't. So, I don't know, maybe one of these days I'll learn my lesson of which reporters to talk to and which ones not to, because some of them do a good job of accurately portraying, and some of them have an agenda. And so sometimes it doesn't pay to be nice, I guess. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just want to say again, there's been a lot of comments, I think, on both sides regarding funding decisions over the years, and there's been some issues raised that happened as much as a decade ago, and it's frustrating to me to have those items be items of contention. I think it's time to move on. Again, if someone wants to ask, what is it that upsets a particular person, and there's a long list of things that they might list, the reality is we're not going to be able to go back and address every one of these issues. I think it's beneficial for us to find things that are important to both the city and the county, and try to find those things that we both believe are important, and trying to find ways to partner up and move forward. That is my desire, and I appreciate the interlocal agreements, the partnerships we have with the city of Wichita to provide services, as well as with organizations in this community we both have provided funding to over the years. And so the reality is the city does a great job, and I appreciate what they do. They care very much about the city, and they're doing the best they possibly can, and I appreciate that very much. So I want to just say I've said it to them, and I'll say it publicly. I am pro-city. I'm pro Wichita. And if I can do something to promote Wichita or say something good about Wichita, I'm very interested in doing that. And I appreciate their leadership, and they do a good job. They have challenges in their in their budget, as everybody does. Excuse me. Everyone has challenges in their budget. Sedgwick County does as well. And but to go back and to continue to rehash decisions that were made a long time ago is not necessarily helpful. So I'd like to move forward, and I'd ask the city to partner with me in trying to find ways for us to find things that are important to the city and the county, and we can partner up as best we possibly can. There's things that we, as a county, we have a separate governing body. We have different tax revenue stream. We have different funding sources, and we provide different services. Most of the things we do are different than what the city does, and I know they appreciate what we do. I want to maintain the things that we do currently. I think they're important. So anyway, anything we can do to appreciate each other's role in the community, I think, is important. And I think that if we can move forward, it's time to do that. And I would just like to, I think back what happened, I guess, a long time ago when Dave Bayouth in the city met, former commissioner met, and they did the thing called bury the hatchet. I don't know how to do that, but I would say that if we can move forward, that's the important thing. And I have extended that interest in doing that for a long time. There seems to be a false narrative in the community that we're continuing to fight, and it's the county that's creating all the conflict. And I don't think that's fair necessarily to us. And I just like to say we're doing what we can to create peace with Wichita. Commissioner Ranza?
Yeah, I hesitate to say this, but let's be honest. This narrative about city and county fighting is really just politically motivated. Okay, there's always been differences between the city and the county, but this narrative of city and county fighting didn't start until the city of Wichita got a new mayor. That's just plain and simple. He's partnered with the Wichita Eagle to try and create that narrative. He's attempting to influence the county commission. He wants his puppet on the county commission, and it's all political. All we can do is continue to do our research, gather the facts, inform the people, and make good decisions like we have, and continue to move forward and do tremendous things for this community, which we have. We've addressed issues like the Law Enforcement Training Center, the TAG office, the Regional Fire Training Center, the 271 building, projects that have languished for years, if not decades in the past, and we're getting things done. We'll continue to do that. We'll continue to do the right thing. There'll be all sorts of false and deceptive narratives. If you listen to the Eagle and others, you would think, there was just terrible problems out at the zoo. Well, the zoo is flourishing. It's bringing in more customers, more money than ever. In fact, I'm going to ask the county manager maybe to give us a report on how they're doing. They're bringing in money hand over fist. And everything is... We're going along good. We're making some good, solid decisions. Some of these issues and financial issues are complicated and don't make for easy 30-second sound bites in the media and political campaigns. But that's the difference between just complaining in a campaign and actually being able to govern. And I think we've done a fantastic job governing and taking care of Sedgwick County. We'll continue to do that, and we'll continue to work hard and respect the taxpayers of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to, excuse me, I want to finish up by saying there's been so many false narratives coming out in the media in the last few weeks, I can't even keep up with it all. I generally like to speak to the false narratives and create clarity around the issue, but there's been so many that have come out in the last few weeks in the media that I wouldn't have time in the next hour to get through them all, I don't believe. There was discussion about us not accepting grants. Let me just point that out. I got a report yesterday. Sedgwick County currently has 88 grants in place, either already awarded or pending. The total value of those grants is $30.18 million. 88 grants in place. So the idea that we're not accepting grants is a false narrative. Okay. There has been some judicious discussion about about some of the grants. Very few of them, actually, and one of those was about sex education. This county provided sex education to our public schools in a program that was beyond its design. It was a fourth or a fifth year of a program that had already termed out, and I don't believe this was a county responsibility. I appreciate the program existed for a while, but the program, in my opinion, had issues, and the reality is it was $158,000. And the intent was to teach the schools how to teach the curriculum, and after a number of years, they should have already been able to transfer that teaching over to the schools. So that was one that we got rid of. Women's, infants, and children, again, that's a grant that we reduced. It was $320,000 in reduction, but we accepted $100,000 more than we needed to run the program. It's administrative dollars only. So again, someone might say we cut or we rejected a grant, and again, it's a false narrative because it's not true. We accepted enough money to run the program in its entirety. And I talked with Director Byrne Lutz just less than 2 weeks ago and had confirmation that the program's running splendidly this year, providing all the benefits they possibly can to all the people that are coming and asking for help. And they've got money to do that. So there is no issue with our Women's, Infants, and Children WIC program. It's running as designed. And we're following the state law and the state rules and regs on how to do that. We're doing exactly what we're supposed to do as a county. And there's a couple of others I could talk about, but the point of it is we have accepted 88 grants that are in place or are being brought to the county, a total of over $30 million. So I just want to set that false narrative. And then the other one I keep hearing, I just want to set the record straight, and it's in the media today and it's in the media yesterday. A discussion about us cutting the zoo. Again, this last budget cycle, we budgeted $150,000 above the previous year. There was no cut. In fact, they were one of the few organizations that actually had an increase in funding when we were trying to find ways to solve our $10 million shortfall in the fiscal 2016 budget. The zoo actually had an increase in funding of $150,000 in our budget. So this idea that we cut the zoo is a false narrative. I could talk about that for a long time, but nevertheless, we have a fantastic zoo, and it shows the long-term investment by Sedgwick County. Most of the zoo has been paid for by Sedgwick County funding. The vast majority of the zoo has been paid for by Sedgwick County funding over the years, and we have a fantastic zoo which shows the investment of Sedgwick County. And the current board that's here and the ones that were here before me have done a great job of providing funding and what was necessary to make that zoo so extraordinary. So I want to give credit where credit's due. This idea that we've got problems at the zoo is just not true. Again, I'm looking forward to the report that Commissioner Ranzau has requested. I believe it shows that we've got record level funding revenue, the record level revenue flowing into the zoo this year. And so that's the truth. We do have a need for is there anybody else who wants to speak on other before we go to the fire district? Seeing none, we are going to need to move to the fire district. So at this time, I will recess the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners and call to order the governing body of Fire District Number 1 for the date of July the 20th, 2016. Madam Clerk, first item, please.
Roll call. Commissioner Unruh.
Present.
Commissioner Norton.
Present.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Present.
Commissioner Ranzau.
Present.
Chairman Howell.
Present. All right, next item, please.
Public agenda.
Is anybody here that signed up to speak on public agenda for the fire district? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Consideration of minutes. Item A, regular fire meeting minutes of June 8th, 2016.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we adopt the minutes for the fire district meeting of June 8th, 2016.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau.
Aye.
Chairman Howell.
Aye. All right, next item, please.
New business, item B, authorize the publication of the maximum property tax levy to fund the 2017 Fire District 1 budget and establish public budget hearings on July 27th and August 4th, 2016.
All right.
Hello again, Commissioners. Still Lindsay Poverso, your Budget Director. This item is identical in purpose to the item you already approved for Sedgwick County. The publication sets the maximum budget for the fire district at $18,064,749 and establishes a maximum property tax levy of $15,744,982 based on the intent of maintaining an equal rate with the 2016 adopted budget of 18.371 mils. In addition to a public hearing to be held on Wednesday, July 27th at 9 a.m., the publication outlines that the final public budget hearing will be held here in this room on Thursday, August 4th at 6 p.m. Budget adoption again is scheduled for August 10th. I'll be happy to stand for any questions, but if there are none, I recommend you authorize the publication that's been included with your backup materials, and the motion for this item is listed as the second item on the sheet I handed out earlier today.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Ranzau.
Mr. Chairman, I move we authorize the publication of a notice of public hearing regarding Fire District 1's 2017 budget. The publication shall include a total budget of $18,064,749 and an ad valorem property tax levy of $15,744,982, which is approximately equal to 18.371 mils, based on the estimated assessed valuation and subject to technical adjustments.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anybody from the public would like to speak on this agenda item? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second, and there's no discussion, so please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye. Okay, thank you. Next item, please.
Item C, adoption of resolution expressing the property tax policy of the Sedgwick County Board of County Commissioners as the governing board of Fire District 1 with respect to financing the annual budget for 2017.
All right, Commissioners, Lindsay Poverso again. Before you is a funding resolution for the 2017 Sedgwick County Fire District 1 budget. State budget law requires that a resolution is necessary when a levy of property taxes to fund the 2017 budget exceeds the levy of property taxes to fund the 2016 budget, adjusted to reflect changes in the consumer price index for all urban consumers for calendar year 2015. In this case, the consumer price index, or CPI, generally is considered to be a measure of inflation. The statute also calls for a variety of adjustments to be included in the calculation, including new improvements to real property, increased personal property valuation, property located within added jurisdictional territory, or property which has changed in use. Per state law, if the Commission as governing board of Fire District 1 intends to adopt a budget with a property tax levy that is greater than that computed limit, a funding resolution must be adopted prior to budget adoption, which is scheduled for August 10th. Assessed value in the district is estimated to increase by 3.3% for the 2017 budget year, while the CPI adjustment allows for minimal growth for the 2015 calendar year of only 0.1%. The levy included in the 2017 recommended budget is $15,744,982 based on the estimated tax rate of 18.371 mils. Under state law, the limit without passing a resolution would be $15,518,689, a difference of $226,293. Adopting a levy in excess of the computed limit would allow the district to regain some of the ground it lost during the Great Recession. Over the 5 prior budget years, tax-based growth in the fire district has been lower than growth in inflation. From 2011, when the 2012 budget was adopted, to 2015, when the 2016 budget was adopted, tax base of the district increased 4.7%. However, CPI grew 6.8% from 2010 to 2014, which would have been the complete years of data available when those budgets were adopted. Should the budget actually be adopted with a property tax levy that is greater than the computed limit, statute directs that notice of that vote be published in the official county newspaper. So I'm happy to address any questions you might have about this. Otherwise, I recommend you adopt the resolution and authorize publication if the budget is adopted with the levy in excess of the computed limit.
All right, thank you for the presentation. Now, this is the, it doesn't, I'm a little confused because it says that we are adopting the resolution authorizing a levy of property taxes. I thought this was only going to be the intent to actually publish that we potentially will do that.
That's the last update. That was the last item we did.
Okay.
This item is done because statute says that if we intend to adopt a budget with that levy, then we have to adopt this resolution prior to budget adoption.
Okay.
And then if the budget is actually adopted that way, then we'll have to publish notice of that.
All right. Maybe other questions. Commissioner Peter John?
Yes, I wanted to get a clarification because from looking at the background material I've received, it looks like the mill levy at 18.371 mills is the same for next year as it is for this year.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the mill levy is flat and is not changing. And now the authorized expenditure, though, is actually, and this is just rough, about $90,000 less than in 17 than it is for this year. So there's actually a tiny percentage. I mean, 90,000 out of 18 million. We're talking about less than 1%.
Yes.
I mean, maybe I think about half of one, at most half of 1%. I'm just sort of eyeballing the numbers. So it's basically this is flat, and this looks like basically we're just going through a bookkeeping exercise with this budgetary information that's been presented to comply with state law. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the 0.1% limitation from CPI that is causing the need to do this.
Well, I won't go into the mechanism in terms of the state law. It's just that straightforward looking at this. Mill levy's flat, and that the actual expenditure we're authorizing here as a maximum would be slightly less than our current year. Thank you.
So if this was next year and we had this issue, would we have to send this out for a vote of the people?
The new tax lid legislation or voter empowerment provision actually only applies to cities and counties. And so this law that we're following this year will be the case for the fire district as a special district going forward unless there's legislation, and I can defer to the legal folks if you need more details.
Okay, so this is really the truth in taxation law that passed a couple of years ago, and this will continue to be the requirements for the fire district?
Yes, sir.
Unless the law changes again. Okay. Commissioner Ranzau.
And this doesn't tie us to the same mill levy or spending. We could choose to spend less, but not more.
Absolutely. Okay. This resolution is only necessary if the budget does get adopted with the levy that's currently included in the recommended budget. If it goes down, then this resolution doesn't have any particular effect, and we wouldn't need to publish notice.
Thank you.
All right. Any commissioners, anybody, any further comments?
There are none, Mr. Chairman. I move we adopt the resolution authorizing a levy of property taxes for financing the Sedgwick County Fire District 1 2017 budget at an amount which exceeds the amount levied to finance the 2016 budget as adjusted pursuant to KSA 79-2925BA as amended.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
And a second. And again, we would ask the public, is there anybody here that wants to speak on the agenda item? All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. No other comments. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peter John?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye.
Thank you.
That's the last item for the fire district agenda, is that correct? Okay. So with that, I will now therefore adjourn the meeting of the governing body of Fire District Number 1 and call back to order the regular business meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Executive session.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of County Commissioners recess an executive session for 30 minutes to consider personal matters of non-elected personnel in consultation with an attorney for this commission, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, and that the Board of County Commissioners return to this room from executive session no sooner than 11:03. The executive session is required to protect privacy interest of an identifiable individual.
All right, I would second that motion. Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau.
Aye.
Chairman Howell.
Aye. And we're in executive session until 11:03. any action was taken. Commissioners, is there anything else before we dismiss or adjourn? All right, Mr. Manager, anything else?
Nothing more.
All right, well, I think that's it for today. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Production and broadcast costs for Sedgwick County Commission meetings have been underwritten by Sedgwick County. KPTS welcomes comments from the public.